Good afternoon, I'm Aaron Pabon, and this is Game Journalism Network. Last week, Christ-Centered Gaming released a tweet saying that they had lost a sponsor due to their ethics policy. And this has, of course, been coming in trying times, especially with new ethics policies coming in various gaming websites, not just in video gaming, but also in gaming review sites. And joining me for a special interview is Gress of Christ-Centered Gaming, the editor-in-chief. Thank you very much. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I hope I didn't butcher your name. I'm very sorry if I did.
It's okay. It's Cheryl.
Cheryl. Oh, wait, what did I say? I'm sorry.
You said Carolyn.
Wow, I do apologize for that. That is complete error on my fault. I'm very sorry about that.
That's okay.
Unprofessionalism right there. Um, so, Cheryl, tell us about what happened last week. So last week you posted on Twitter that you lost a sponsor due to a issue with a review or advertising that you were about to do on this website, which was against your ethics policy that you've put in place on your website. What exactly happened?
Okay. I was approached by an advertising firm who was representing an online MMO strategy game, and they wanted to do a sponsored blog post, and they said they would supply the text, and if I posted on the website and also mentioned it on Facebook, they would pay me $25. And we have done a similar sponsored post in the past, and I disclosed on that one that it was a sponsored post, and it went smoothly. But with this one, they sent me the text, and I brought the text to our editor panel, and we made some changes, and then we brought it back to the advertiser and said, well, here's some of the suggested changes, but we also, in order to be on our site, it's going to have to go and be mentioned or listed as a sponsored post. And they did not want to have anything to do with that, and basically said, well, if it's got to be sponsored, the deal's off. And then I replied back and I said, well, here, just so we're clear, here's what a sponsored post on our website looks like. I sent her the link to the other one that I did. And she just said, well, in case I wasn't clear enough, the deal's off. It's like, okay. So then I tweeted. So I had two tweets, actually. I had one that when the first email where it seemed like it was going downhill, I said, well, I think we're going to be losing a sponsored opportunity. And I think I used the hashtags ethics ain't easy and not hiding anything. And then when it went under, or when it was made clear to me that it was totally off, I tweeted again and said, yeah, well, it's official. We lost this opportunity, but hopefully others will present themselves. And then that I actually meant to say, here's hoping, and I actually had a typo. It said he's hoping. So that tweet, of course, was trending, and my typo is immortalized now.
So now this comes at a very interesting moment too, as well in video gaming, especially since we've been having a major change in ethics policies in various websites. But was your ethics policy in place before we had a majority of these conversations in place? And if so, these ethics policies that you have, are they simply because of the religious backing of your website, or is it simply out of common sense, or because of the Federal Trade Commission?
Well, the ethics policy, I think I put that in place November 10th of 2014. So we've had it for a good while, and our primary purpose is to retain the trust of our readers. We want to retain our integrity, and it says in there, let's see here. It says the 9th commandment is to tell the truth. So that's basically, I mean, we're supposed to be honest, and if we're getting paid to put content on our site and passing it off as our own, well, that's dishonest. And I don't, I mean, reviews are opinions, so our word is not the final say. It's up to the readers. So we just provide reviews, and if they find the information useful, they can make an educated purchase and go from there. But all in all, it's an opinion, and if it's a paid opinion, I want to disclose that to our readers so they know that some money was exchanged in the process.
And after this exchange between this gaming publisher and you, what was your immediate action afterwards, aside from tweeting that this happened?
Well, let's see. I tweeted, and I haven't responded to them since. And I tweeted that, and then I went off about my day. I was running some errands, and then I came back, and I was looking through my email, and I noticed like, oh, I got to send a PayPal invoice, and I log into my PayPal, and there was a good more money in there that wasn't there before. I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm going through some more of my emails, and I noticed that this was posted on Reddit, and people were talking about it there. And so, and it's actually, someone was actually summoned me on there. They linked my Reddit username, and I was already kind of like on the trail before they brought me onto that. But so I was looking through it on Reddit, and I wasn't immediately thinking to bring the FTC involved. I'm like, well, it's $25. I mean, are they really gonna care about that? And some people were like, well, you really should open a case regardless. Like, okay, so I did, and it's in their hands now. So if they, if it's this company is on their radar now, then so be it. But if they do nothing, well, I've done my part.
And how much money has, if you're allowed to disclose, how much money came in after losing $25 from gamers who wanted to support your site?
I know it's like we disclose all our finances. If you go to ChristCenteredGamer.org, we have a finances page there. And let's see, so I'll just compare here. If I know it's over 400. So this year, just in PayPal, so this is like the 11th of January. This year in PayPal donations made specifically to the site is $432. And last year, for donations made specifically just through the PayPal thing on the site, was $320. Now, we got more through Minecraft donations, but that was kind of like marked as a PayPal with the tag of Minecraft. So I kind of keep those separate, but they're all reported on our finances page. But yeah, so just the site itself got over $400 there. So very, very blessed by that.
Now let's talk a little bit about the background of Christ-Centered Gaming. And this also comes, your website is very interesting to say the least, because there's been a quote unquote almost separation between gaming and religion, if I'm allowed to say that. And
Sure.
It seems to be because, we don't really talk about a religion a lot in gaming. And when we do, it's maybe a handful of video games that do come out over the years. But this is specifically a review site with a very religious background. So how did that come about?
All right. Well, my husband and I got married in 1999 in November, so towards the end of 1999, and we were playing. We were both, I guess, avid gamers. I grew up with with a NES, and I never had a SNES till after we got married. The same thing with the Nintendo 64 and stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff kind of happened later. But so we were casual gamers, and video games are not cheap, and they're like $50 a piece, $60, and maybe or special editions they go even higher. But a lot of times, especially husband and wife gaming together, you got to buy 2 copies. So we spent like $100 on this game, and we were doing the magic. Playing the magic on it was more significant than just casting a healing spell or a thunder or fire or whatever. But in order to do magic, you had to collect reagents, go to a pentagram, put the reagents in there, light the candles around it. It's like, this is not just magic, this is a ceremony, and I just don't feel right doing this. So like, well, is there any other sites out there that would warn people, warn Christians, warn parents about what's in game, what can be found in games? And, we were looking in on the internet back in 1999, 2000, and not seeing a whole lot out there. Or if there were sites, they were not getting updated very often. So we started, it was actually originally started as Christian Computer Game Reviews, or ccgr.org. So if you don't like typing ChristCenteredGamer.com, you can do a shortcut and just do ccgr.org, and it'll go to the same site. So it's just a little shortcut there. But then when we started focusing on console reviews, well, like, okay, well, Christian Computer Game Reviews isn't going to cover it anymore. So we started doing Christ-Centered Game Reviews. And then one time I got something sent to me, and it was addressed to Christ-Centered Gamer. I'm like, I actually like that. So I started changing. I got the domain for that because I figured gamer would encompass many things. We can have servers and more videos and whatever, maybe e-zines or whatever, who knows. But I just figured Christ-Centered Gamer is more encompassing. And so our goal is just to point out, is to review games. And we don't have a limitation on well, let me rephrase that. We do some sort of limits. I mean, we don't like try to steer, clear from hentai games and stuff like that, stuff that's obviously bad. but we do, since we're a volunteer site, we do get a lot of volunteer reviews of some games that I personally probably wouldn't play, but others don't have a problem playing and running an objective review for us. So.
And you have a very simplified score system, but you also do 2 scores with each game. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. All right. So we've been around about 16 years, and we've learned a lot through that time. We used to have our reviews. If you can probably still find some on the site. I mean, they're bad. They're bad. Probably like a couple paragraphs long, and just whatever. Yeah. We've gotten a lot better over the years, and we still have room to grow. So we've learned a lot. And so one thing we learned in the past is we used to have 1 score, and by having 1 score and having the appropriateness and the game stuff all merged together, the Christian games that were kind of, I hate to say it, but they were cheesy. The cheesy games that weren't that good, but very appropriate for kids to play, would get inflated scores, where some games that had some violence or some language, but, fun as can be, would get lower scores because of the moral content. So we decided, well, it's probably best to separate the two and score a game by its own merits, and then also look at it from the family perspective or family appropriateness perspective, and see if this game is suitable for children or Christians to play. And so by having the separate scores, the game gets the most, I guess, the benefit of the doubt, or just looked at the more objectively than by combining it.
Now, with your moral compass and with ethics policies in place and things of that nature, are there any games that you flat out simply chose not to review on those grounds?
We're pretty open-minded. So,
because I know you mentioned earlier you obviously wouldn't review a hentai game or things like that, but like, let's say a game like Doom or Grand Theft Auto, for example.
We do have some reviews for Grand Theft Auto and Doom. I didn't write any of those. I didn't write either of those. But we do have some of those. But I'm on pretty good terms with a lot of publishers. Like Atlas sends us games, Ubisoft. So some of the Atlas games, I was sent Yakuza 5. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I had to upgrade my PS3 to even contain that game. I had a 60 gig PS3, so it needed a bigger hard drive. So, okay. Well, it's the original one, the one that's got the hardware compatibility. So it's classic. So
I understand completely. I really do.
So we have like we'll be doing a review of Yakuza 5, and Ubisoft sent us South Park: Stick of Truth, which that is probably one of the few games that has a 0 on the moral score. It definitely earns the 0, but the game score, it's like in the 80s on the percentage on that. So it's a fun game. It's funny. I laughed, but holy cow, I could not play that in front of my kids. They couldn't even, I had headphones on, but even the screen, I mean, they had drawings of genitalia and stuff. Like, no, I can't. No. So we have warnings. I'm like, don't play this anywhere near children. But as far as the game itself, yes, it's funny. It's probably going to make you laugh. But we were sent a game, Honey Pop, by the developer, because the Gamergate movement recommended us, saying that we would give it an objective review. I said, well, okay, well, you have 2 versions. Send me the censored one. I don't need to see, let me see what this one on Steam is. So I was sent that, and I mean, even the censored one was wow. I had to use some eye bleach after that, but yeah. So I mean, even though we still did give it a fair review, and people were saying that I wasn't strict enough, but again, we have the scoring has all its categories. So even Honey Pop, and it's got language, and it obviously, I think I gave it as low as I could on the sexual stuff, but I couldn't dock it for things that it didn't have. I mean, if it wasn't, bloody, violent, ripping intestines out and stuff, I couldn't dock it on violence. So it still has a reasonable moral score, but it has a reasonable game score as well. So kind of keep things in their boxes and try not to let it all bleed into each other as possible.
Now, this brings up an interesting point, and this is something we didn't really talk about before, was you have a clear separation of a moral score versus a gaming score when it comes to its actual gameplay, when it comes to mechanics and things of that nature. And this is coming also at a very strange time, because you mentioned Gamergate just now, and this comes at a very strange time when you have a lot of reviewers who are putting a lot of their personal politics into these reviews, or will simply give a game a lower review just because it didn't meet their social justice criteria. What are your opinions on this type of reviewing versus, you know, the reviewing that you do, which there's a clear definition and line between the two types of scores that you give?
You know, it really depends on your audience. I mean, our audience will come to us from a moral perspective, or I mean, but actually because of the Gamergate thing,
I'm sorry, Cheryl, you broke
yeah.
up. Can you say that one more time?
Sorry. I guess it depends on the audience. I mean, if you want to do if you want to do reviews from a political perspective, you should have a website that was some sort of like opening that as their agenda, like be obvious about it. But if somebody comes to a well-known media outlet and just gets political garbage thrown at them, that's going to obviously you'll lose the reader's trust. I mean, we're the thing about us is we wear our bias on our sleeve. I mean, they know we're a Christian gaming site. So I mean, you know, even though people know that, they still respect our reviews because they're mostly, I'm not gonna say always, but they're mostly well written. And but you know, all reviews are an opinion. So obviously, you know, there's some games that the reviewer just didn't like, you know, just for gameplay reasons, not necessarily political ones, but you know, there's a lot of games I don't agree with, you know, from my convictions religiously, but I don't let that bleed into the review because there's other Christians that won't mind playing it. I mean, there are Christians that play Grand Theft Auto. Do I play it? No, but I have different convictions. You know, I have different game taste, and I still like playing FPS games, RPG games, even though they have violence, they have magic and stuff in it. But there's Christians that won't, and I can totally respect that. There's Christians that won't touch Pokemon. I can respect that, but I can't force my opinions on them. But just because that's why we kind of remain neutral as much as possible, and just lay out there what we see and let them make the call. And I think other reviewers should kind of do the same thing, and you know, point out what's in the game. If you're a game review site, focus on the video games. If you're a political site, well, then you can focus on the politics.
Okay. And last question, with everything that's been changing with the Federal Trade Commission, especially now with gaming politics and things of that nature, especially with native advertising, has that changed any of your ethics policies, especially when it comes to reviewing games, especially what just happened last week?
You know, I didn't mention to the person that emailed me, I didn't mention anything about the FTC when I declined, or when I mentioned the sponsored post. I just said it's something that we do. I didn't say it was something by law that we're required to do. It's just we've been disclosing review copies for a while, and even before the guidelines, and we just do that just to let the readers know, hey, we didn't pay for this game. It was given to us. So it's not going to hurt us as much as it's going to hurt the reader financially. Like if they go out and spend $60 and say, "What did you recommend this for? This game was crap," you know. So so we just do it just out of just integrity, just to let you know, hey, like we were provided this copy, or we were provided this hardware, we were provided this, or just so they know what we were given to do this review. Now a lot of the stuff is volunteered on, where the volunteers did buy the game on their own with their own pocketbook. So that's just we've been doing that, FTC or not, and it's something we'll continue to do.
Okay. Are you free for a couple of live questions online?
Oh, sure.
Okay. We actually I have two questions that were sent to me. Also, if you do have any questions you wish to ask us, you can use the hashtag AskGJN, or you can ask on the live chat below on our YouTube channel, or you can ask directly on our Twitter page at gamejournalnet. It's really hard to say that, and a little bit tongue-tied today. Do not know why. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, at gamejournalnet. First question comes from Jake Jakerson. Jake, interesting name. With the changing climate of social justice, especially in the gaming world, how is that any different from when you review games with a religious context? Again, I think we kind of asked that question earlier, but what was your take on that?
Well, let's see. I mean, there's different. I mean, I don't know. We try. I mean, we'll mention things. I mean, we try to play both sides of it. Like, you know, if there's a a scantily clad female in a game, I will mention that. But if there's like a guy in the game that has refuses to wear a shirt and he's got muscles rippling everywhere in a six pack, I'll mention that too. I you know, do I mind option B? I'm gonna be honest, no. But I can see. I try to play both sides and try to see things. I mean, there's so I mean, we try to look at things from multiple perspectives, from a female, from a Christian, you know, and just mention, you know, if a game is pushing an agenda. I mean, we've reviewed games that openly push the homosexual agenda, and we'll mention that, and we'll just dock it in the sexual area if that's available. But we won't bleed in anywhere else. It's not going to impact the gameplay score. It's not going to impact the graphics score. It's not going to impact the sound score. So we just try to keep things where if it mentions, we give it a mention, and then it gets deducted in the appropriate category and does not affect anywhere else in the game review process.
Okay. Our next question comes from Emery5755. You mentioned Pokemon briefly. What are your views on Pokemon?
I've played. Let's see. I've played a few of them. I beat Yellow. The thing that's when I introduced Pikachu. I played a lot of Silver. My kids and my husband have played a lot of the newer ones, and I think my daughter put like. I guess I have to say this online, but yeah, she put like over 700 hours into it, into one of them. So she plays it, you know, she goes to her friend's house and they play it. So I'm okay with, you know, with it, but I understand a lot of people aren't. Yes, it's got the evolution and stuff like that, and I've heard, you know, say that Pokemon are demons or whatever. I don't know but the thing is, it's all conviction. So if you're convicted not to play it, don't. But to me, I don't have a problem. I let my kids play it, but you know, the way I am with video games is if they get in trouble, video games are the first thing that they lose. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions we currently have. I don't see anything else going on live. I'm not sure if you have any questions on your side. But on that note, that was Cheryl Gress, and I got that right.
Yes.
Earlier.
That's okay.
The editor-in-chief of Christ Center Gamer. Thank you for coming on and talking with us about this. I'm Aaron Probone. This is Game Journalism Network. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me.